Hello everyone, welcome to Karthikeya IAS Academy. So today let's discuss the current affairs analysis. Here we go. So the first topic is World Restoration Flagships by the UN. Coming to the context, 7 initiatives from Africa, Latin America, Mediterranean, Southeast Asia have been named World Restoration Flagships by the UN. So these programs, which attempt to restore ecosystems that are in danger of degrading, have potential benefits for both socio-economic advancement and environmental preservation. It is anticipated that the amalgamation of these endeavors will yield restoration operations on roughly 40 million hectares of land, produce nearly 5 lakh job opportunities. So now let's see which 7 world restoration flagships have the UN recently recognized. So it involves Turkey, Tunisia, Morocco, Lebanon. So it compromises of a revolutionary strategy that is claimed to have restored and preserved endangered ecosystems and natural habitats. With a target over 8 million by 2030, almost 2 million hectares of woods have been restored since 2017. So now let's see the Living Index project. So this was approved by Pakistan's parliament after the floods brought on by climate change in 2022. So it is approved by Pakistan's parliament in 2022. So it was formally introduced at Sharm el Sheikh during the 27th COP. COP in the sense Conference of Parties to the Union Framework Convention on Climate Change. So intends to restore the Indus River basin on 25 million hectares by 2030. So it is an action performed to safeguard rivers worldwide, acknowledging the Indus River as a living being with rights of its own. Australia, Bangladesh, Bolivia, Ecuador, Brazil, Canada, India, New Zealand, Peru, and Sri Lanka all are involved. So now coming to the social movement Asian Andina, 1 million hectares of Andean forests are to be preserved and restored, and it is spearheaded by the non-profit Andean Ecosystems Association. So tropical and subtropical forests of the Andes mountain range in South America are known as Andean forests. So what is Andean forest? So here is the answer. Tropical and subtropical forests of the Andes mountain range. So in South America, those are known as Andean forest. Together with securing land rights for nearby people, the effort aims to keep mining and timber exploitation out of the forests. Next, coming to the initiative for mangrove regeneration in Sri Lanka. It's a community led program with a scientific focus. Its main objective is to get the ecosystem's natural balance back. So, what is the main objective of this? To get the ecosystem's natural balance back. The union said that since the program's inception in 2015, 500 hectares of mangroves have been rehabilitated. By 2030, 10,000 hectares of mangroves are to be restored. So, the Terai Arc Landscape Initiative, TAL. South, to rebuild the forests along the Tal's vital routes by partnering with locals who served as forest guardians, community based anti poaching squads, citizen scientists, and other roles. Between the Yamuna River in the west and Bhagmati River in the east, Tal covers an area of 810 km. So, between Yamuna River and Bhagmati River, the Tal covers 810 km. So, in this way, you can remember it includes portion of Indian states of Uttarakhand, Uttar Pradesh, and Bihar, as well as the low-lying hills of Nepal. So these states are very important in this. So which includes portions of Indian states. So Uttarakhand, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, as well as the low-lying hills of Nepal involves in this. So it includes also Shivaliks, the surrounding Babar lands, and the Terai footplants. We all know where is the Shivaliks. So this is Himachal, this is Himadri, and these are Shivaliks. So this one includes the Shivalik hills also, the surrounding Babar lands and Terai footplains. The initiative includes actions like reasoning 66,800 hectares of Nepal's forests, which is expected to raise living standards of 5 lakhs household there. It also helped to sustain the 1,174 tiger population that now exists in the area that is shared by Nepal and India. 3,50,000 hectares of forest restoration are targeted by 2013. So coming to the reforesting agriculture in Africa, it improves crop and grass yields, stores more carbon, strengthens the soil resilience to flooding and fertilizes soil naturally with fixed agriculture, with fixed nitrogen. So we can remember the points by doing a mind map. So to improve crop, to grasslands, and for carbon, and for flooding. So this soil resilience to flooding, fertilizing, and the soil naturally with fixed nitrogen. So by seeing these main words, we can remember the sentences. So this is the simple thing to remember everything. Next, coming to expanding woods in Africa's arid regions initiative increases the hectares under repair from 41,000 to 2,29,000 by 2030. It involves farmers in Africa who plant tens of millions of trees a year. More than 2,30,000 employment are created, promoting sustainable growth. So now coming to the UN World Restoration Flags. So what are they? The UN Environment Programme (UNEP) and the Food and Agriculture Organization of UN (FAO) are leading the UN Decade on Ecosystem Restoration, which includes the World Restoration Flagships. So, the goal of this initiative is to prevent and stop reverse degrading of ecosystems on every continent in every ocean. So, here this is the initiative to prevent and to stop and to reserve the degrading of ecosystems. It is very related to environment and ecology subject. The UN Decade on Ecosystem Restoration has been proclaimed by the UN General Assembly for the years 2001 to 2030. Through the World Restoration Flagship Award, the UN acknowledges the World Restoration Flagships with the goal of halting ecosystem deterioration on all continents and oceans. UNEP and FAO are leading the UN Decade on Ecosystem Restoration, which includes this prize. Recipients of this grant gain access to UNO financial and technical support. The award recognized noteworthy projects in the wake of international pledges to restore 1 billion hectares, an area greater than China. So, importance of this topic. Honoring and celebrating their success stories in restoration on a global scale. Up to USD 5 lakhs in technical and financial support only for poor countries can be allocated to each proposal that is chosen, drawing investments and attention from the world, and participate in the publications, campaigns, outreach, advocacy, and educational initiatives of the UN decade, mentioning in the General Assembly report from the UN Secretary General. So, coming to the next topic, India's AVGC XR sector's potential. Here, AVGC refers to animation, V refers to visual effects, G refers to gaming, and C refers to comic. So, coming to the context, in the next 5 to 6 years, India's animation, visual effects, gaming, comics, and extended reality industry is poised for tremendous growth. So, what prospects does India's AVGC XR sector have? So, now let's see what are all the prospects. First one is industry overview. With more than 4,000 studios and important centers in Mumbai, Bengaluru, Pune, Hyderabad, and China, India has a thriving film industry. Furthermore, there is a notable increase in studio establishments in smaller towns, which emphasizes the industry's broadening each. India's proficiency in the visual arts is based on its rich cultural legacy, variety of art genres, and talented artists. The industry is starting to realize how much opportunity there is in this area to create value and jobs. So now into the work prospect. Content developers, animators, pre and post production artists, pre visualization artists, compositors, and other related professionals will make up the majority of direct jobs. The industry is expanding at a rapid rate. Certain AVGC XR segments are already expanding by 30 to 35% a year. So, what is the estimated growth? With 2.6 lakh people employed, the AVGC XR sector expect to add 23 lakh direct jobs by 2032. So, revenues are predicted to rise from current OCD 3 billion to approximately USD 26 billion by 2030. So, India's shares of the worldwide AVGC XR market is only to 0.5%, but according to government estimates by 2025, it might account for 5%, USD 40 billion of the market share, growing a rate of about 25 to 35%, 30% a year, adding more than 1,60,000 new employment yearly. So, what are all the difficulties does the AVGC sector face? So, first one is absence of real data. The lack of information about employment, industry size, educational attainment, etc. for the AVGC sector makes it more difficult for entities and to make decisions. మనందరికీ తెలుసు ఏవిజీసీ సెక్టర్ ఫేస్లోని ప్రజెంట్ చాలామంది దాని మీద ఇంట్రెస్ట్ ఉన్న వాళ్ళు చాలామంది ఉంటారు. సో వాళ్ళందరికీ వచ్చే ఫేక్ న్యూస్ వల్ల దానివల్ల మనీ ప్రాబ్లమ్స్ కానీ ఫినాన్షియల్గా ప్రాబ్లమ్స్ అనేవి చాలా జరుగుతూ ఉంటాయి. దానివల్ల వాళ్ళు తీసుకునే డెసిషన్స్ కూడా ఒక్కొక్కసారి రాంగ్ అవ్వచ్చు. సో యాబ్సెన్స్ ఆఫ్ రియల్ డేటా వల్ల వాళ్ళు ఎక్కువ ఫేస్ చేస్తున్నారు. సో ఇది చాలా పెద్ద డిఫికల్టీ జరుగుతుంది ఏవిజీసీ సెక్టార్ ఫేస్లో. అండ్ నెక్స్ట్ కమింగ్ టు స్కిల్స్ గ్యాప్ ఇన్ ద వర్క్ అండ్ ఎడ్యుకేషన్ సెక్టర్స్. A workforce with specialist abilities is needed for variety of vocations including animators, developers, designers, localization experts and product managers in order to create the AVGC ecosystem with the nation. So infrastructure restrictions. The quality of training that students receive is declining in the lack of a sufficient infrastructure for training, which has an effect on the AVGC industry's people resources and output quality. decreased emphasis on research development. For the AVGC XR sector, research related narrative development is also necessary in order to allocate specific attention to it. So, coming to the next one, lack of an academic reference point of AVGC. In India, AVGC industry lacks an apex institute in contrast to other industries like engineering, design, management, and packaging. సో మనందరికీ తెలిసినట్టే మిగతా మనం చదువుకోవాలంటే ఇంజనీరింగ్ సైడ్ కానీ, డిజైన్ సైడ్ కానీ, మేనేజ్మెంట్ సైడ్ కానీ, ప్యాకేజింగ్ సైడ్ కానీ, ఇంకా ఏ అదర్ ఇండస్ట్రీ ఏదైనా సరే మనకి చాలా ఇన్స్టిట్యూట్స్ అనేవి దొరుకుతూ ఉంటాయి. కానీ ఇక్కడ ల్యాక్ ఆఫ్ అన్ అకాడమిక్ రిఫరెన్స్ ఎందుకు అవుతుందంటే, ఏవిజీసీకి అంత స్టూడెంట్స్కి ఇంట్రెస్ట్ ఉన్నా సరే అవి పెట్టే ఇన్స్టిట్యూట్స్లోని ఎలాగా ఇక్కడ దీనివల్ల ప్రాఫిట్స్ వస్తాయా రావా, లేకపోతే దీనివల్ల ఇంకేమైనా ఫినాన్షియల్గా ప్రాబ్లమ్స్ వస్తాయేమో అని చెప్పి చాలా అకాడమిక్ రిఫరెన్సెస్ అనేవి ఏమీ ఉండవు ఏవిజీసీ సెక్టర్స్కి. సో ఇది కూడా అవ్వడం వల్ల ఇదొక డిఫికల్టీ అయ్యింది ఏవిజీసీ సెక్టార్కి. సో ఫండ్స్ యాక్సెసిబుల్. The lack of a specific fund on the remote AVGC industry currently exists, which hinders the sector's expansion in India. So next difficulty is absence of popular Indian IPs worldwide. Since the majority of the work in the AVGC sector is outsourced, the industry as a whole has suffered from a lack of original Indian intellectual property. So since services to the nations dominate the animation business, it's critical to provide extra incentives for domestic production in order to boost local intellectual property. So now coming to which government initiatives are in place to support the AVGCXR industry. So coming to the first one, integration of education. In order to create an atmosphere that is favorable for developing talent in AVGCXR, the National Education Policy 2020 has incorporated sports, design, and the creative arts into the curriculum starting in class 6th. సో ఏవిజీసీ ఎక్స్ఆర్ సెక్టర్ని ఇంప్రూవ్ చేయడానికి గవర్నమెంట్ అనేవి కొన్ని ఇనిషియేటివ్స్ తీసుకున్నాయి. అందులో ఫస్ట్ వన్ ఇంటిగ్రేషన్ ఆఫ్ ఎడ్యుకేషన్. సో ఇందులోని మనకి నేషనల్ ఎడ్యుకేషన్ పాలసీ అనేది 2020లో అయింది. సో అది మనకి స్పోర్ట్స్లో కానీ, డిజైన్స్లో కానీ, క్రియేటివ్ ఆర్ట్స్లో కానీ సపోర్ట్ చేస్తూ ఉంటుందన్నమాట. సో దీనివల్ల ఏవిజీసీ సెక్టార్లోకి ఫర్దర్గా వెళ్ళాలి అని అంటే ఎటువంటి ప్రాబ్లమ్స్ ఫేస్ చేయకుండా ఉంటాం. సో ఇది క్లాస్ 6th నుంచి మన స్కూల్ ఎడ్యుకేషన్ నుంచే స్టార్ట్ చేయబడుతుంది. సో దిస్ ఈస్ ద గ్రేట్ గవర్నమెంట్ ఇనిషియేటివ్ ఫర్ ఏవిజీసీ ఎక్స్ఆర్ సెక్టర్. So, AVGC XR learning has been implemented in about 5,000 state board and CBSE schools with ambitions to expand program across the country. The goal of this project is to rethink animation and as an age appropriate family entertainment medium. సో ప్రెజెంట్ ఇది ఆల్రెడీ నడుస్తుంది. కొన్ని 5,000 స్టేట్ బోర్డ్ స్కూల్స్లో అండ్ సిబిఎస్ఈ స్కూల్స్లోని ఈ ఈ ఇంప్లిమెంట్ అనేది చేశారు. 6th క్లాస్ నుంచి స్టార్ట్ అవుతుంది. అసలు దీని ఏమేంటంటే వాళ్ళ ఒక రీథింక్ యానిమేషన్స్ గురించి చేస్తూ ఉంటారు. So, framework for policies. The establishment of AVGC Promotion Task Force to suggest strategies for realizing and expanding domestic capacity for serving Indian markets and the global demand was announced in Union Budget 2022 to 2023 as a means of unleashing the sector's potential. So, to create strong rules that are specific to each state, industry associations such as FICCI, ABAI, Association of Bangalore Animation Industry, and SAIC, Society of AVGC Institutes in Kerala, are working along with government agencies. So, several states like including Telangana, Maharashtra, Karnataka have already taken significant steps to encourage the expansion of this industry. So what are all the states that are already taken significant steps to encourage the expansion of this industry are Telangana, Maharashtra and Karnataka. So the way ahead, it is imperative to maintain the focus on skill development initiatives customized for the AVGC XR sector. This covers initiatives for formal education that are incorporated into school curriculum as well as programs for vocational training that provide the skills needed for aspiring professionals, encourage increased cooperation between educational institutions and industry participants to guarantee that training programs and the curriculum meet industry demands. Opportunities for internships, industry sponsored projects, guest lectures can help close the knowledge gap between academics and business. So, coming to the next topic, weed blast and climate change. So, it is an environmental conservation. Coming to the context, a recent study titled Production Vulnerability to Weed Blast Disease Under Climate Change has raised alarm about potential connections between the fungal plant disease, wheat blast, and climate change. The paper traces the chronology of wheat blast outbreaks, highlighting how they spread from their original South American origin to Bangladesh in 2016 and Zambia in 2018. El Nino and other meteorological phenomena have an impact on the disease. So, a wheat blast disease. We'll see what is it. A very harmful fungal illness. Wheat blast disease mostly targets wheat harvests. It is a serious threat to food safety and security, especially in South Asia and South America's tropical zones. So the fungus Mignaporte orizae fetatio triticum is the cause of the disease. So this is the disease. It is the cause of the disease actually. So coming to the signs, leaf lesions. The leaves develop tiny, spindle to oval shaped lesions. These lesions may seem yellow or tan at first and they may become brown or necrotic. They frequently have a yellow aura about them. సో వీట్ బ్లాస్ట్ అనేది అంటే ఆ డిసీజ్ ఎలాగ మనకి ఆ కాజ్ అవుతుందో దాని ఒక సైన్స్ ఎలా ఉంటాయంటే ఒక లీఫ్ లేషియన్. ఇప్పుడు ఈ లీఫ్లోని స్టార్టింగ్ ఎల్లో కలర్గా ఫామ్ అయ్యి దాని తర్వాత బ్రౌన్ కలర్గా లీఫ్ అనేది చేంజ్ అవుతూ ఉంటుంది అనమాట. సో ఈ లీఫ్ ఇలాగా ఫామ్ అయినప్పుడు మనకు అదొక సిగ్నిఫికెన్స్ అంటే ఇది ఇందులో ఏంటో తప్పు జరుగుతుంది అని మనకు ఐడియా రావడానికి ఈ లీఫ్ లీషియన్స్ అనేది ఒక సైన్ ఇస్తుంది అనమాట. సో కమింగ్ టు ద స్టెమ్ లీషియన్స్, the stem of wheat plants are also susceptible to developing lesions akin to this. These lesions may encircle the stem, causing the plant to lodge and wilt. So, symptoms of skiplets, blackened and elongated, infected spikelets may resemble spindles. This symptom is more noticeable when the plant is in its reproductive states. So, now let's see the effect on crops of wheat. The wheat ear is specifically targeted by the fungus, which causes it to shrivel and distort in an unusually short amount of time, often less than a week after the earliest signs appear. Farmers have little time to react due to its quick onset, which results in significant yield losses. Wheat blast spreads by a number of channels, including agriculture waste products, airborne spores that can travel great distances, and infected seeds. Although the virus can infect every part of the wheat plant, that is aerial, it is the infection of the wheat ear that causes the greatest amount of harm. So, which aspects of the study stand out the most? First one is wheat blast's impact from climate change. Currently, 6.4 million hectares of cropland are at risk from wheat blast, and by 2050, climate change is probably going to make matters worse and put 13.5 million hectares of cropland at risk. So, wheat blast is also associated with El Nino weather patterns. All of the severe wheat blast epidemics that occurred throughout South America and Asia during the warm rainy years of 1987, 1997, 2002, 2009, 2012 and 2015 coincide with El Nino dominated weather patterns according to 2018 study published in the annual review of phytopathology. So, the potential of wheat blast alone to cut global wheat yield by 13% illustrates how seriously it affects global food security. So, availability by area. The locations most susceptible to wheat blast in the future climate include South America and Africa. Up to 75% of these regions, wheat acreage may be jeopardy by 2050. Future, what are all the future dispersions and effects? Potentially, wheat blast could spread to other nations such as Uruguay, Ethiopia, Kenya, and Congo. It also emphasizes forecasts of heightened susceptibility in areas such as North America and Oceania. Potential wheat blast targets include previously untouched nations like Italy, Spain, Japan, New Zealand, underscoring the threat's worldwide reach. So, effects on the region of Europe. The likelihood of infection is decreased by the frigid temperatures found in Europe and other regions with snowfall. However, over time, climate change may influence how certain insect pests, and illness are distributed. So, it probable that regions of Europe close to Mediterranean have weather that's conducive to fungal infections. This covers portions of southern France and Spain as well as Italy. So, what is the result for India? If dry seasonal conditions with more frequent severe higher temperatures over 35 degrees Celsius occur in the later half of the wheat growing season in future climates, then some portions of India might become less susceptible to wheat blast. Such high temperatures reduce the likelihood of wheat blast infection, but they also cause terminal heat stress, which reduces India's potential output. So, which adaptation strategies are recommended by the study? Change to crop less susceptible to. In order to reduce output and financial losses, farmers may need to switch to less sensitive crops given the threat that wheat blast poses to significant that wheat growing regions in the world. Different approaches. It is advised to variety of approaches to manage the illness. For example, in Midwestern Brazil, maize is progressively replacing wheat in agriculture practices. Another crucial tactic had already been started may help reduce losses in newly exposed areas in the breeding of wheat resistant to blast damage. So, the ideal date of sowing. Selecting the right sowing date will also help prevent situations that encourage wheat blast. So, what can prevent situations from this disease? So, right sowing date will also help for this. Another successful disease mitigation method is to modify the planting dates. Another one is planting dates. So, first one is right sowing date, and the second one is planting dates. So during the flowering period, rain followed by hot, muggy conditions might encourage the growth of diseases. So these times correspond with high temperatures and relative humidity because of higher precipitation levels. It is advised to avoid planting in Bangladesh during the late planting season and early planting in central Brazil. What steps are taken to prevent a wheat blast? The International Maize and Wheat Improve Center and its partners in the National Agriculture Research Team systems have developed wheat blast resistant cultivars that have shown promise in lessening the effects of wheat blast. So these are the steps which are taken to prevent wheat blast. So one of the most important way to lessen the effect of this terrible illness is to develop and promote wheat cultivars that are resistant to wheat blast. So from preventing from wheat blast, so first one is to lessen the effects of this terrible. So to develop and to promote wheat cultivars that are resistant to wheat blast. So, a particular gene called as RMG8 confers genetic resistance to wheat blast to the RMG8 wheat variety, which was developed by CIMMYT researchers. The 2NS entails in reducing a section of chromosome 2N to form wheat types from a wild relative of wheat called Thinopyrum ponticum. It has been discovered that this translocation improves resistance to a number of fungal infections. So, coming to the next topic, land of Nazul. So it is an internal security. Coming to the context, violence recently broke out in Haldwani in the Nainital district of Uttarakhand. Following a demolition drive carried out by the local authorities to clear encroachment from what was purported to be Nazul land, the location of a mosque and madrasa. So the administration claims the land on the which two buildings are located in officially registered as Nazul land owned by municipal council. So let's see what is the land of Nazul. Although Nazul land is held by the government. So Nazul land is held by government. It is typically not managed as state property. It is not managed as state property. So, generally speaking, the state leases such land to any organization for predetermined amount of time, usually between 15 to 99 years. If the lease is about to expire, you can apply to have it renewed by sending a written request to the local development authority's revenue department. The government has the option to retake Nazul land by either cancelling or renewing the lease. Nazul land has been assigned to various bodies for diverse uses in nearly all major Indian towns. So, the formation of Nazul land. Many revolts against the British during the rule by monarchs and kingdoms resulted multiple conflicts between the British army and these opposition parties. The British would frequently steal these rulers' territories after beating them in combat. The British left these regions behind when India gained its independence. However, since monarchs and royals frequently lacked the necessary records to demonstrate past ownership, these properties were designated as Nazul land, which will be possessed by the corresponding state governments. So, what Nazul land is for? Generally speaking, the government uses Nazul land for public works projects like constructing Gram Panchayat buildings, schools, and hospitals. So, what is for Nazul land? So, Nazul land is a land for public work projects. Like Gram Panchayat buildings. And for schools and even for hospitals. So, actually, Nazul land is for the public works projects. So, coming to the next one, what does an intruder do? It is the occupation or unlawful use of another person's property. If the rightful owner is not actively interested in maintaining the area, this might happen to vacant or abandoned locations. So, property owners should be informed of their rights in these situations as well as the legal actions that can be taken. The unlawful use or occupation of land or property within urban areas is known as urban encroachment. What is urban encroachment? So, here is the answer. The lawful use or occupation of land or property with urban areas is known as urban encroachment. So this could involve squatting, building illegally, or engaging in other type of occupation without the required authorization or legal rights. According to the section 441 of the Indian Penal Code, 1860, land encroachment is the act of breaking into someone's held property without their consent in order to conduct a crime, pose a harm to their property, or to remain there against their will. How to get rid of illegal encroachments. So these are the points. The local authorities are typically obligated to notify the people or business engaged in unlawful encroachments prior to taking any further actions. Courts have stressed the value of due process and have frequently decided that enough notice and an opportunity to be heard are necessary before a demolition is carried out, including the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court has observed that the right to livelihood is a component of the right to life in the 1985 Olga Tellis case, so which highlighted the rights of slum dwellers and the right to livelihood. In the event that persons do not reply or offer an adequate reason, the demolition procedure may be carried out by the local authorities. In general, it is required of authorities to respond in a way that is proportionate to the seriousness of the offense and the steps taken to the uphold natural justice principles. So thank you for watching our video. Please like, share and subscribe our channel. Thank you.